Beloved, when a man's heart is set ablaze, he speaks in hush and thunder. His love is carved in words unspoken, in syllables wrapped in wonder. Hear him, not just with your ears, but with the deep well of your spirit. Here are few words that a man uses when he fall in love madly. One, always. For his love is no passing storm. When a man is madly in love, always is more than a word. It is a foundation, a promise carved deep into the marrow of his soul. It is not a fleeting whisper, not a borrowed feeling that comes and goes like the seasons. No, always is his declaration, his quiet thunder, his steady river that does not run dry. When he says always, he means that his love is not dependent on the sunshine, not something that wavers when the winds shift. He is not here just for the golden days, for the laughter that comes easy, for the warmth of summer skin against his own. He is here for the storms, for the unraveling, for the moments when the world feels too heavy. He is here when you doubt, when you falter, when your own hands tremble. He is here when you shine and when you shatter. Always means he sees forever in your eyes. It means he is not just passing through your life, not just tasting the sweetness of the moment before moving on. It means his love is not temporary, not conditional, not something that can be undone by time or distance. He is rooted, he is unwavering. He is saying, I will love you on the days you cannot love yourself. I will stand beside you when the road is steep. I will hold you in my heart, in my hands, in my every breath, always. Too safe. For in his arms you are home when a man is madly in love. Safe is not just a word, it is a sanctuary, a shelter built with his heart, his presence, his unwavering devotion. It is the way he holds you, not just in his arms, but in his thoughts, in his intentions, in the spaces between his words. It is the quiet certainty that no matter how wild the world may rage outside, with him you are protected. To love deeply is to offer safety, not just from harm, but from loneliness, from doubt, from the weight of carrying too much alone. When he says safe, he is telling you that your heart can rest in his hands without fear, that your secrets can unfurl without shame, that your soul can stretch, breathe, and be seen in its fullest form. He is telling you that no part of you, no shadow, no scar, no trembling piece is too much for him to hold. Safe means he is your calm when the storms come, your steady ground when the earth shakes beneath you. It means his love is not reckless, not careless, not a wildfire that burns bright only to leave you in ashes. No, his love is a lighthouse, a quiet strength, a refuge where you can lay down your burdens and simply be. He is saying, with me, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be unbreakable. You don't have to hide. You are safe. You are home. 3. Us walks. For he no longer walks alone. When a man is madly in love, us becomes more than a word. It becomes a world, a home he carries wherever he goes. It is the shift from I to we, from wandering alone to walking hand in hand. Us is not just togetherness, it is belonging. It is the understanding that love is not just about feeling, but about choosing, about building something that stands through time. Us means you are no longer just two separate souls crossing paths. It means he sees his future with you in it, not as a passing thought, but as a certainty, as a dream he holds close. It means his victories are not just his own. His burdens are not carried in solitude. It means when the world grows heavy, he does not stand alone. He stands with you. A man in love does not say us lightly. He says it with intention, with a quiet reverence, with the full weight of his heart behind it. Us means you are a part of his story, not just for a chapter, but for as long as the pages turn. It means he sees love not as a fleeting moment, but as a lifetime of mornings and midnights, of shared glances and whispered dreams. Us is not just a word, it is a promise. He is saying, you are not just someone I love. You are someone I walk beside, someone I choose, someone I call my own. You and I, we are us. For he longs to be understood when a man is madly in love. Listen is not just a request, it is a plea, a reaching out, a bridge he builds between his heart and yours. It is his way of saying, see me, hear me, know me. Men are taught to be strong, to be silent, to carry their burdens alone. But love makes a man long to be understood, to be known, beyond what the world expects of him. When he says, listen, he is not simply asking for your ears. He is asking for your presence, for your patience, for the kind of attention that says, you matter. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings matter. To listen is to love without needing to fix, without needing to rush to answers. It is to hold space for his truth, even when words come slow, even when emotions surface in ways unfamiliar. It is to hear what he says in his silences, in the way his hands tighten, in the way his breath deepens before he speaks. It is to notice the weight he carries even when he does not name it. When he says, listen, he is inviting you into the deepest parts of him, the parts that are often locked away, the parts he has learned to guard. And if you listen, truly listen, you will hear the unspoken, the vulnerable, the softest whispers of his soul. He is saying, I want to share myself with you, not just the good, not just the easy, but all of me. Will you listen? 5, trust. For he offers the key to his soul. When a man is madly in love, trust is more than a word. It is a gift, a sacred offering, a door he opens, not just for anyone, but for you. Trust is not something he gives freely, not something handed over without thought. No. For a man who loves deeply, trust is built, earned, tested through time and truth. When he says trust, he is not just asking for faith in him, he is showing that he has placed his faith in you. Men are taught to guard their hearts, to carry their wounds in silence, to build walls that protect but also isolate. Yet love has a way of softening even the strongest defenses, of making a man want to be known, to be seen in his wholeness, his strength and his struggles, his courage and his fears. To trust is to let you in, to take off the armor, to stand before you without pretense. Trust is not just about honesty, it is about safety. It is about knowing that he can be vulnerable without being judged, that he can be imperfect without being abandoned. It is about knowing that his love will not be met with doubt, that his devotion will not be questioned at every turn. When he says trust, he is telling you that he is not here to play games, not here to break what he has built with you. He is telling you that his love is steady, that his word holds weight, that his actions will match what he promises. And just as he asks for trust, he gives it in return. He does not hold your past against you. He does not measure your worth against old scars. He does not second guess your love because he knows that doubt is the enemy of devotion. Instead, he chooses to believe in you, in your intentions, in the quiet truth of what you share. When a man says trust, he is handing you the most fragile, most precious part of himself, his heart. He is saying, I trust you with my love, my fears, my dreams. I trust you to stand beside me, not just when the road is smooth, but when it is uncertain. And I hope you will trust me too. 6, stay, for forever is his silent plea. When a man is madly in love, stay is not just a word. It is a whisper, a prayer, a quiet plea woven into every touch, every glance, every moment he holds you close. It is the unspoken language of his heart, the deepest desire he may not always have the words to express. Love teaches a man many things, but one of its greatest lessons is fear. The fear of losing something precious, something irreplaceable. A man who loves deeply may not always say it outright, but in his actions, in the way he lingers a little longer, in the way his hand tightens around yours when you walk away. You will hear him say it. Stay. Stay is not just about presence, it is about commitment. It is about weathering the storms, about not walking away when things get hard, about choosing each other, not just in moments of ease, but in moments of uncertainty. It is about knowing that love is not just a feeling, it is a choice, a promise renewed with every sunrise. When he says, stay, he is saying, I see a future with you. I don't want a love that flickers and fades, that burns bright only to leave me in darkness. I want a love that lasts, a love that holds steady through the seasons. Stay means he is ready to be vulnerable, ready to trust that love does not have to end in heartbreak. It means he is willing to fight for what you have, to grow with you, to build something that stands the test of time. It means that in a world full of fleeting connections, he has found something real in you, something worth holding on to. When he says stay, he is not just asking for another day, another month, another year. He is asking for a lifetime. He is saying stay, not just in this moment, but in all the moments to come. Stay not just in the light, but in the shadows too. Stay, because without you, none of this makes sense. 6, stay forever is his silent plea. When a man is madly in love, stay is more than a request. It is a longing, a quiet plea whispered in the way he looks at you, in the way his arms tighten around you just before you pull away. It is not just a word, it is a promise wrapped in hope, in devotion, in the deepest corners of his soul. Love does not come easy to all men. Many have known loss, disappointment, the sting of something beautiful slipping through their fingers. A man who has truly fallen, who has given his heart without hesitation, knows the weight of stay. He knows it carries history, carries risk. But still he says it, not because he is afraid of being alone, but because he has found something in you that he does not want to live without. Stay is not just about presence, it is about commitment, about choosing to hold on even when life becomes unpredictable. It is about knowing that love is not just laughter and warm nights, but also misunderstandings and moments of doubt. And still, he asks, will you stay? When a man says stay, he is not merely asking for another day, another chance. He is telling you that he sees his future in you, that he is willing to do the work to keep what you have, that he is not looking for something temporary, something fleeting. It is his way of saying, I want to build with you, grow with you, walk with you through all that life brings. Stay means that when the world feels unkind, when doubt creeps in, when storms threaten to shake the foundation of what you've built, he does not want to run. He does not want distance. He does not want uncertainty. He wants the warmth of your presence, the steadiness of your love, the quiet reassurance that no matter what, you are choosing him just as he is choosing you. It is also a vow he makes himself. He is saying, I am here. I will not waver. I will not walk away when things become difficult. I will stay with you, for you, because of you. When a man loves deeply, stay is not just a word. It is his heart speaking, his soul reaching, his love asking for the only thing that truly matters, forever. 7, beautiful. For his eyes see you beyond the mirror. When a man is madly in love, beautiful is not just a compliment. It is an affirmation, a truth he speaks not just to flatter, but to remind you of what he sees in you, even on the days you struggle to see it yourself. Beauty to him is not just about the way your hair falls in the morning light or the way your smile brightens a room. It is not just about the curve of your lips, the sparkle in your eyes, or the way your skin feels beneath his fingertips. No, when he calls you beautiful, he is speaking of something deeper, something untouchable, something that exists far beyond the surface. He sees beauty in the way you laugh, in the way you care, in the way your heart carries kindness, even when the world is unkind. He sees beauty in your strength, in your vulnerability, in the way you rise after every fall. He sees beauty in the way you speak, in the way you think, in the way your soul moves through this world with grace, with fire, with something he cannot name but never wants to lose. And even when you do not feel beautiful, even when your hair is undone, your eyes are tired, your heart is weary, he will still say it. Not out of obligation, not because he thinks you need to hear it, but because it is the only truth he knows. To him, beauty is not something that fades, not something that depends on perfection, not something that exists only in moments of light. To him, beauty is you, always, endlessly, effortlessly you. When he says beautiful, he is telling you, I see you, not just the way the world sees you, not just the way you appear, but the way you are, inside and out. And to me, there is nothing more breathtaking. 8. Mine, not to own, but to cherish. When a man is madly in love, mine is not spoken, to claim, to possess, to take. It is not about ownership, not about control. No, when he says mine, he is not holding you in a cage, he is holding you in his heart, in a place sacred and unwavering. Mine is a word of devotion, of deep-rooted connection, of a love that is not fleeting but grounded, not selfish but selfless. When he calls you mine, he is not saying you belong to him in a way that limits you. He is saying you belong with him, beside him, in a love that is vast enough to hold all that you are. A man who loves deeply does not say mine with arrogance. He says it with gratitude. He knows that love is not something given lightly, not something that everyone gets to experience. When he calls you his, it is his way of saying, I cherish you, I honor you, I do not take you for granted. It is his way of letting the world know that among all the souls, all the possibilities, it is you he has chosen, you who holds his heart in ways no one else ever has. Mine is not about keeping you. It is about keeping you safe, keeping you loved, keeping the space between you sacred. It is about protecting what you share, about treasuring the love that has blossomed between you. It is a vow, a promise, a declaration that says, you are the one I hold dearest, the one I stand beside, the one I will fight for again. And just as he calls you his, he offers himself in return, not just in words, but in presence, in loyalty, in the quiet everyday ways that love makes itself known. When he says mine, he is not taking from you. He is giving you all that he is. He is saying, I am yours as much as you are mine. Non-need for love is not just wanting, but requiring. When a man is madly in love, need is not spoken lightly. It is not a word he tosses into the air like a passing thought, not something he says without weight. When he says, I need you, he is not speaking from a place of weakness, not asking you to complete him, not saying he is incapable without you. No, his need is deeper than that. It is a truth woven into his soul, a recognition that life is fuller, richer, and more meaningful with you in it. To need is not to cling. It is not to beg or to ask for more than what love is meant to give. When a man says he needs you, he is telling you that your presence is not just a luxury. It is a force in his life, an anchor, a quiet strength that steadies him in ways he never knew he could be steadied. It is your laughter that softens the hard edges of his world, your touch that reminds him he is more than what the world demands of him. It is your voice that lingers in his thoughts, your kindness that shifts the weight of his burden, your love that turns ordinary moments into something sacred. Need is not a word of desperation, it is a word of depth. He does not need you the way a drowning man needs air, the way the lost need direction. He needs you the way the earth needs the rain, the way the night sky needs its stars. Because without you, something vital is missing, something unspoken feels undone. And his need is not selfish. It is not about taking, but about sharing. He does not need you to fix him, to save him. to carry what is his alone to bear. He needs you simply to stand beside him, to walk with him, to meet him in the quiet moments where love is not spoken but felt. When he says, I need you, he is telling you, you are not just someone I want. You are someone my heart has carved space for, someone whose presence is not just desired but essential. 10. Forever. For his love knows no end. When a man is madly in love, forever is not just a wish, not just a dream, not just something beautiful, he says in passing. It is a promise, a vow whispered between heartbeats, a truth that lives in the way he loves you, in the way he holds you, in the way he stays. Forever is not an easy word. It carries meaning, carries the kind of devotion that does not falter when the days are long and the nights are uncertain. When he says forever, he is not speaking of something temporary, something fragile, something that bends at the first sign of difficulty. He is speaking of a love that endures, a love that chooses, a love that stays even when staying is the harder choice. Forever means he is not just here for the good times, not just here for the laughter and the warmth, not just here when love feels effortless. It means he is here for the storms, for the moments when doubt creeps in, for the times when love must be fought for rather than simply felt. It means his love is not conditional, not dependent on perfection, not something that wavers with time. It means that no matter what, he will stand beside you, hand in hand, heart in heart, through every season life brings. When he says, forever, he is telling you that you are not just a moment in his life, you are his life. He is telling you that his love will not fade with time, that it will not grow weary, that it will not be shaken by the uncertainties that life may bring. He is telling you that in a world full of fleeting connections and temporary loves, he has chosen you not just for now, not just for today, but for always. And forever is not just a word he speaks. It is a truth he lives. It is in the way he shows up, in the way he fights for you, in the way he holds you close, even when life tries to pull you apart. It is in the way he listens, in the way he forgives, in the way he never stops choosing you over and over again. When he says forever, he is not making a promise he cannot keep. He is telling you, you are my love, my heart, my always. And for as long as I breathe, for as long as time allows, it will be you. It has always been you. It will always be you. Love, in its purest form, is not just spoken. It is felt. It is lived. It is written in the quiet moments, in the whispered words, in the way two souls choose each other every single day. A man who is truly in love may not always say it in grand speeches, but listen closely and you will hear it in the way he speaks, in the way he stays, in the way he trusts, needs, and cherishes you. These 10 words are not just words, they are windows into his heart. His devotion is forever. They are his way of saying, I love you, even when the words themselves go unspoken. If you find a love like this, one that listens, trusts, stays, and chooses you every time, hold on to it, nurture it, and let it grow into something timeless. May you always recognize love when it speaks. May you always feel its warmth, and may you never settle for anything less than a love that sees you, cherishes you, and says, forever. Good luck. And thank you. My dear sister, there is a rhythm to truth, a slow and steady pulse that can't be silenced. You don't need to shout to be heard when your spirit speaks before your mouth ever opens. Sometimes you simply walk into a room and the atmosphere shifts. Not because you're loud, not because you're boastful, but because the energy around you is alive, it's awake, it's undeniable, and oh, it is powerful. People don't always know how to name it. They call it confidence. They call it mystery. Some will call it arrogance. But you know it's none of that. What they are feeling is your presence. It's your aura. Not something you wear like fine clothes, but something you carry like breath. It follows you. It surrounds you. It announces your arrival without a single word. You may have noticed how folks change when you're near. Some grow quiet, some shift in their seats, others laugh too loud to cover their discomfort. That's not you being too much. That's your light making their shadows more visible. You didn't do anything wrong. You just existed in the fullness of who you are. And in a world where most people are taught to dim, your glow can be blinding. People might try to shrink you, tell you to soften, to be less intense, to quiet that fire. But that's only because they cannot match the flame. Not everyone is ready for the honesty your energy demands. You bring truth into rooms that survive on pretense. You bring clarity where confusion used to hide. And that rattles cages that were never meant to be shaken. You will find that not everyone claps when you rise. Some will hold their applause like secrets. Others will fold their arms, questioning why you stand so tall. But let them. You were not made to bow for comfort. You were made to rise for purpose. Your aura, this bold and beautiful force, was not built to please. It was built to lead, to heal, to protect, to awaken. When you walk with your head high and your soul even higher, those who are asleep to themselves will call you strange. They'll whisper about your light, not knowing it's the very thing that can guide them out of their own darkness. Some will resent you before they understand you. Some will love you without ever knowing why. That is the power you carry. That is the disturbance you create, not by intention, but by nature. There is something about silence that unsettles people, especially when it carries weight. When you enter a room and say nothing, but your presence is felt like a sudden hush before a storm, that is power. It is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is calm, but not the kind of calm that slips unnoticed through the cracks. It is the kind of calm that makes people pause mid-sentence, the kind that turns heads without trying. That's what happens when your aura moves ahead of your words. It makes people feel things they don't understand, and that discomfort often reveals more about them than it ever will about you. You don't have to raise your voice to make a statement. Your stillness speaks. Your composure carries a message all its own. People who rely on noise to prove their worth, who decorate their insecurities with volume and drama, they don't know how to interpret someone like you. Someone who doesn't fight for attention but still holds it. Someone who doesn't need to speak to be heard. That's not just presence. That's energy, that's depth, that's quiet intensity. It comes from knowing yourself, from not needing approval to feel worthy. And when that kind of self-possession enters a space, it challenges every shallow surface around it. They might call it arrogance, they might say you're distant, but really, they're just hearing their own echo in the quiet you've created. When your silence is rooted in awareness and strength and peace, it reflects everything others are trying to escape. Some people are not ready to sit with themselves, and your presence forces them to do just that. You don't have to do anything more than exist in your truth, and it rattles them, because most of the world has learned to survive by pretending. And here you are, doing nothing but being, and still revealing everything. There's a certain sacredness in not rushing to speak, in letting your energy do the introduction, in being so in tune with who you are that you don't need to constantly explain or defend it. When your silence is backed by substance, it makes people lean in, listen harder, wonder deeper. And that can be threatening to those who confuse noise with power. But you've never needed volume to validate your value. You know that presence, real presence, is felt, not forced. People often mistake stillness for weakness because they've only seen strength expressed in struggle. But you know better. You know there's a strength that's rooted in restraint, in not reacting to every opinion, not being pulled by every wave. That kind of grounded stillness can't be taught. It's earned through experience, through healing, through learning how to protect your peace. And when you carry that within you, people will notice. They might not understand it, but they will feel it. And that feeling might make them uncomfortable. It's not your job to explain it to them. You weren't made to fit inside their limited understanding. You were made to be light in a world full of flickering distractions. You were made to be steady in a culture obsessed with chaos. So let your silence speak. Let your energy whisper the truth. Let your calm disturb their noise. You don't need to change to be more digestible. You don't need to shrink so others feel tall. Let them feel whatever they feel when you walk in. That's not your burden. That's your signal that your presence is doing what it was meant to do. The world is full of sound, but not all sound is meaningful. Your stillness carries wisdom. Your silence holds power, and those who can see beyond the surface will recognize it for what it is, a rare kind of strength that speaks not through words, but through being. Let that be enough. Let it be everything. There's something undeniably magnetic about the kind of energy that doesn't ask to be noticed, yet it always is. You might not dress to impress, you might not walk with a spotlight on your shoulders, and still when you enter a space, people turn, they look, they feel it. It's not because you're trying to stand out, it's because you don't need to. You simply show up as you are, and that authenticity commands attention in ways performance never could. Your aura moves first, speaks first, and lingers even after you've left. It's not about beauty or status or style. It's something deeper, something rare, and it makes people uneasy when they can't name what draws them to you. That's the quiet storm you carry, an effortless pull, a natural gravity. While others stretch themselves to be seen, your very being whispers louder than their shouting. And those who build their worth on being recognized, on being praised, on being admired, they feel the threat of your still power, because attention is currency in their world. And when you receive it without begging for it, without even trying, it disrupts their sense of control. People are drawn to you not just because of how you look or speak, but because of how you make them feel, or more honestly, how you make them feel about themselves. Your energy reflects back to them the parts they've hidden or forgotten. For some, it's inspiration. For others, it's intimidation. Either way, it's impactful. And that kind of impact doesn't go unnoticed. Even when you try to keep things quiet, you're not trying to compete. You're just living. But that life you live, honest, grounded, unapologetic, becomes a mirror. And not everyone is ready to see what's staring back. Your presence challenges the idea that you have to be loud to matter. You challenge the belief that power looks a certain way, walks a certain way, talks a certain way. You walk in, no performance, no armor, just truth. And truth doesn't ask for applause. It doesn't need a stage, but when it shows up, everything false starts to tremble. You become the contrast in the room, not because you mean to, but because you can't help but be real in a world trained to pretend. There will be those who admire you, who follow your lead, even from a distance, but there will also be those who resent the way your light exposes their shadows. You may notice how they shift when you speak, or how they go silent when you approach. Don't take it personally. It's not that you've done anything wrong, it's just that your presence asks questions their spirit isn't ready to answer. Your aura speaks in volumes they haven't learned how to read yet. This kind of attention can feel heavy at times, especially when you never asked for it, when all you're trying to do is live fully, love honestly, and walk with purpose. But don't dim. Don't apologize for being visible when you never beg to be seen. Let them stare, let them whisper, let them try to define what they can't understand. The ones meant to walk with you will not be disturbed by your shine. They'll be comforted by it. They'll be awakened by it. Your power lies in the ease with which you carry your truth. It's not arrogance, it's not pride, it's peace. And peace is disruptive to those still at war with themselves. So walk on. Hold your head high, not because you're above anyone, but because you've learned to live beneath no one. You don't have to prove anything, you just have to be. And being, when done fully, is more than enough to shift every room you walk into. In a world that rewards masks and rehearsed smiles, authenticity is almost rebellious. To be real, fully, and unapologetically is to walk into spaces and shake foundations without saying a single word. Your aura does that. It doesn't try to fit. It doesn't try to mimic. It simply is. And in its rawness, it reflects everything that is missing in the people around you. When you show up as yourself, you unknowingly hold up a mirror to others, a mirror that reveals the masks they wear, the roles they play, the truths they've buried. That's why your presence disturbs, not because you're trying to expose anyone, but because your light makes their hiding places less comfortable. You live without pretending, and that alone makes people nervous. Because most have spent so much time becoming who they were told to be, they've forgotten who they truly are. So when you enter the room, not chasing approval, not bending your truth, not softening your edges, it's disruptive. Not loud, not aggressive, but quietly bold. It makes people question why they ever thought they had to shrink in the first place. You walk in peace with your flaws. You don't carry shame like others do. You're not afraid to own your mistakes or show your scars. And that level of honesty creates a different kind of tension, the kind that stretches people out of their comfort zones. They don't know how to act around someone who isn't performing, someone who doesn't flatter to be liked, someone who doesn't filter their truth to make it easier to digest. You don't decorate your pain. You don't wrap your power in softness just to make others feel stronger. You show up as you are, and that is both rare and unsettling. They might say you're too intense, too different, too much, but really, they're saying you're too real for a world that survives on half-truths. You bring clarity. You bring truth. You bring energy that can't be manipulated, can't be bought, can't be faked. You don't conform to the expectations that control so many. You listen more than you speak, feel more than you show, and understand more than most realize. That unnerves those who rely on performance. Because when someone is truly authentic, it calls out the act in others without a single accusation. And still, you don't demand attention. You simply draw it by being real in a place where most have chosen the comfort of illusion. That's why people notice you before you speak. That's why some pull closer while others keep their distance. Your authenticity is not just a trait, it's a vibration. It's a frequency not everyone is tuned to. Those who are still building walls will feel threatened. Those who are ready to tear them down will feel seen. Sometimes your mere presence forces people to ask themselves hard questions, questions they've avoided, questions about who they are, who they've become, who they wish they could be. And while that reflection can be painful, it can also be the beginning of their growth. So don't stop being who you are just because it makes others uncomfortable. Discomfort is often the first step toward transformation. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more truth. It needs more people willing to walk in the open, to stand in their skin, to speak from the soul. You don't have to shout your authenticity. It travels on its own. You don't have to defend it. It defends itself in the light it carries. And even when misunderstood, even when labeled and misnamed, it remains untouched. That's your strength. You are not made to blend. You are made to remind others of what truth looks like when it chooses not to hide. Let them be disturbed. Let them wrestle with what your presence awakens. It means you're doing exactly what your spirit was sent here to do. There is a quiet force in you that doesn't ask for permission to exist. It simply does. It stands firm, even in the middle of chaos. And what unsettles people the most is that you carry that strength without ever raising your voice. You don't demand respect, you command it. Not with threats, not with noise, but with a presence that speaks louder than volume ever could. It's in the way you move, how you look people in the eye, how you choose stillness over performance, how you stay rooted when others chase validation. Your spirit doesn't chase after people's approval. It remembers that respect is not something to be begged for. It's something you naturally invite when you refuse to bend where it counts. People don't always know what to make of that. They're used to people who try to please, try to impress, try to prove themselves. But you don't walk into a room carrying a script. You carry something far more rare: self-respect. Not the kind that brags or tries to convince, but the kind that flows through every choice you make, every word you speak, every boundary you hold. It unsettles the ones who are used to control. It makes them second guess their own position when they see you taking up space without explanation. And it's not ego that makes them uncomfortable. It's your refusal to shrink. You know your worth, and you don't need to wear it like armor. You don't need to perform it. It's in your energy, in the way you hold yourself, in how you don't try to be palatable just to be liked. That kind of self-awareness can be disturbing to those who've built their lives around approval. Because when someone like you shows up, someone who won't trade their values for acceptance, it challenges the structure of pretense they've leaned on for so long. You do not respond to pressure the way most expect. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't explain your choices just to ease someone else's discomfort. That unnerves people who are used to bending others to their will. They may label you distant, cold, or difficult, when the truth is, they're just not used to meeting someone whose energy doesn't waver under scrutiny. You're not easily shaken. You don't entertain nonsense. And when you say no, it stays no. That firmness, that calm confidence doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from knowing who you are when no one's looking. You've walked through enough to know what matters and what doesn't. You've been broken, rebuilt, and reborn so many times that you've stopped chasing approval and started honoring your peace. That kind of journey changes how you show up. It makes you less reactive and more intentional. And in a world addicted to noise and performance, that kind of intentional energy feels like resistance. It disturbs, not because it's hostile, but because it refuses to be controlled. Your calm is not emptiness, it is mastery. Your silence is not absence, it is presence. And when people feel it, when they sense the weight of your being without you having to declare it, they're faced with a kind of power that can't be manipulated. That's what respect rooted in spirit looks like. It stands tall without comparison. It doesn't chase applause. It doesn't argue to be right. It simply is. You don't owe anyone softness to make them feel strong. You don't owe anyone obedience to make them feel in charge. And still, you walk with grace. Still, you treat others with dignity, not because they've earned it, but because that's who you are. You don't seek control, and yet you influence. You don't seek to lead, but people follow. That is the paradox of true power. It doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't impose, it inspires. So let your energy continue to command the room before you speak. Let your boundaries teach others how to treat you. Let your silence challenge the noise. You weren't made to bow for false peace. You were made to stand steady and whole, even when others try to shake you. Keep honoring that power. There is something unshakable about a person who moves with purpose, even when the path ahead is uncertain. You don't always have the answers. You don't always see the full picture, but still you walk. Still you rise. Still you keep going. And that alone can stir discomfort in others. Because in a world that teaches hesitation, that trains people to wait for approval, for clarity, for permission, your ability to move forward without it all figured out becomes a kind of quiet rebellion. People notice it. They may not say it out loud, but they feel the difference. It lives in your step, in your decisions, in the way you don't let fear paralyze your progress. You carry a confidence that doesn't come from knowing everything will work out perfectly. You carry it because you've learned that even when things fall apart, you don't. That kind of confidence doesn't come easy. It's been earned through trials, through long nights, through silent prayers, through disappointments that taught you how to bend without breaking. And now, when people see you stand so sure of yourself, they don't always understand what it took to get there. They think it's natural. They think it's effortless, but they don't see the strength it takes to believe in your direction when the road is foggy and the voices around you are filled with doubt. Some will try to interpret your confidence as arrogance. They'll assume you think you're better, when really, You've just decided to stop waiting for approval to be who you are. You're not walking with pride, you're walking with conviction. You're walking because you've tasted what it feels like to stay stuck, to question yourself, to wait too long. And now you'd rather walk uncertain than stay frozen in fear. That unsettles people who are still standing on the edge of their own potential, too scared to move. You move with purpose, and that movement becomes a reflection. It shows others what's possible when you stop making fear your God. It reveals what's waiting on the other side of hesitation. But not everyone is ready to be reminded of what they've left behind, the dreams they abandoned, the risks they refused to take. Your steps, no matter how humble or quiet, make noise in the spirit of those who are still playing small. And some don't take kindly to being awakened. But you're not responsible for their discomfort. You're not responsible for how they interpret your momentum. You didn't rise to prove anything. You rose because you couldn't stay where you were. You move because something in you refuses to settle. You walk because your spirit knows that waiting for certainty is often just fear in disguise. And even though the journey is not always clear, your faith in yourself, in your path, in something greater, that's what fuels you. You don't seek permission to grow. You've stopped asking people to understand your vision. You've stopped explaining your pace. Because you've realized that purpose doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't ask to be validated. It simply calls, and those who are willing to listen will follow. And you've decided to answer that call again and again, even when your voice shakes, even when the way is lonely, even when you don't feel ready. That kind of courage speaks for itself, and while it may disturb those who are still waiting for everything to make sense, it also inspires the ones who are just a little braver because they saw you choose movement over fear. Keep walking, keep rising, not because it's easy, but because it's yours to do. Your steps are not only for you, they clear the way for others. Let them follow if they're ready. Let them watch if they're not. Either way, you've already chosen the path. There's a quiet kind of magic in simply being yourself, not the version of you others expect, not the one shaped to fit into rooms that could never hold your truth, but the real unfiltered you. And what's most powerful is that you don't go around trying to change people. You don't preach, you don't push. You just exist with such deep honesty that it becomes contagious. People see you standing in your truth, and suddenly they start questioning the lies they've told themselves. That's the kind of aura that doesn't just glow, it awakens. And awakening can be uncomfortable, even painful. Not everyone is ready for it. Not everyone wants it. But your presence makes it impossible to ignore. There are people who've spent their lives hiding behind masks, lost in noise, adjusting themselves to fit molds that never felt right. And then you appear, calm, centered, whole, without explaining yourself, without editing your light. That alone is transformative. It's not what you say. It's not even what you do. It's who you are when no one's watching. It's how you walk in peace, even when chaos circles. It's how your energy carries a story of survival, growth, and quiet power. And that kind of presence is like holding up a mirror, showing people their potential and their fear at the same time. You don't force change. You simply live truthfully, and your truth invites others to remember their own. And some will be drawn to that, not because they fully understand it, but because something inside them recognizes the freedom you walk with. They may not say it out loud, but they start to sit a little straighter, breathe a little deeper, feel a little braver just by being near you. That's what transformation looks like when it's organic. Not loud, not flashy, but deep, real, lasting. Of course, not everyone is ready to change. Some people are still holding on to the version of themselves that feels safe, even if it's suffocating. And when your presence walks into their space, unafraid, unapologetic, unshaken, it becomes a challenge to everything they've accepted. They might resist you, they might label you, they might distance themselves, but that has nothing to do with you. It's the reflection they can't bear to see. You're not disturbing them. You're revealing to them what they've silenced. And that kind of revelation takes courage to face. The most beautiful part is you never set out to be a guide. You never claimed to be anyone's answer. You simply decided to live honestly, to stop apologizing for who you are, to walk in alignment with your own soul. And that decision, that deep commitment to truth, created a ripple effect. People around you begin to question what they've accepted as normal. They begin to remember who they were before the world told them who to be. You're not changing them, they're changing themselves because your energy reminded them that it's possible. It's never been about control. You don't need to be followed or praised. You just move through the world with intention, with clarity, with peace that doesn't waver when questioned. And in doing so, you spark something in others. A quiet realization that maybe they too can stop performing, stop pretending, stop living by fear. Maybe they can speak more truth. Maybe they can choose healing over hiding. Maybe they can breathe differently because of what they've felt in your presence. That's how powerful your aura is. It disturbs not through force, but through depth. It shifts not through demand, but through example. And even if you never fully see the impact you've made, know that you are leaving fingerprints on hearts, not because of what you've said, but because of how you've chosen to live. So if your presence has ever made others shift, whisper, distance themselves, or even silently admire from afar, know this: it's not a flaw, it's a sign. A sign that your aura carries a power many have never encountered. You don't need to dim that light to make others feel comfortable. You weren't made to be small. You were made to be seen, felt, and remembered. Keep walking with purpose. Keep speaking with truth, and keep living in full alignment with who you are. The world may not always understand your energy, but those who are meant to walk with you will never be disturbed by your shine. They'll be guided by it. Good luck on your journey, and thank you for letting your light speak where words never could. My dear friends, there are days when the weight of the world does not just sit on your shoulders, it sinks into your skin. It whispers to your bones and makes your spirit tired before the sun even rises. And in those moments when the road looks too long and the air too thick to breathe freely, we must pause and consider something we are often told to bury, something we are taught to be ashamed of: the tender truth of being hurt, the quiet truth of being wronged. This is a defense of victim mentality, not as a crutch, but as a cry that says, I have been wounded, and that should matter. People will tell you to be strong. They will tell you to rise above. They will shout from comfortable places that you must move on. But what they forget is that healing has no clock. It does not answer to someone else's schedule. It does not dress itself in smiles when the heart is still bleeding. To acknowledge the pain is not weakness, it is honesty. It is courage. It is the soul saying, I am still here, even though the world tried to scatter me. Sometimes we speak from the cracks in our foundation. We speak from the shaking ground of survival. We do not always roar. Sometimes we whisper. Sometimes we tremble. Sometimes we cry out just to be seen. And that is not something to erase. That is something to honor. Because in a world that praises silence over truth, we must remember that even broken voices still sing. Acknowledging pain is not weakness. It is the first step toward healing with truth and dignity. So often we are told to shake it off, to stand tall before we are ready, to smile when our soul is aching. The world teaches us that strength is loud, unshaken, always moving forward with no time to look back. But that is not the whole truth. There is another kind of strength. Quiet, trembling, but still standing. The kind that says, yes, I am hurting, and I will not pretend otherwise. I will not deny the depth of what I feel, just to make others comfortable. There is a sacredness in being honest about our wounds. We do not have to shrink them to be seen as brave. We do not have to wrap them in silence just to be accepted. Pain, when ignored, does not vanish. It settles deep, turning into bitterness or shame, making the heart heavy and the spirit weary. But when we speak our pain, when we sit with it instead of running from it, something begins to shift. The hurt begins to loosen its grip. The tears that once felt like drowning now feel like release. And little by little, we start to feel the sunlight again. Some will say that admitting we are victims is living in the past, but they forget that healing begins with recognition. You cannot clean a wound you refuse to look at. You cannot walk forward if your feet are still tangled in the chains of unspoken hurt. Calling something what it is, whether it be betrayal, abuse, loss, or neglect, does not make us powerless. It makes us truthful. And truth is the birthplace of freedom. When we say, I was hurt, I was wronged, I did not deserve this, we reclaim what was taken from us. Our voice, our story, our right to be whole. There are many who will hear that and flinch because the truth makes people uncomfortable. It holds up a mirror to things they would rather not see. So they label our honesty as self-pity. They call it drama. They say we are stuck. But what they fail to understand is that acknowledging pain is not where we stop. It is where we begin. It is the soil in which healing grows. And every step after that comes from a place of clarity, not confusion. There is nothing weak about saying you were hurt. There is nothing shameful about remembering where it all went wrong. And if someone ever made you feel small for simply surviving, you need to know that smallness was never yours, it was theirs. You carry more strength than they could see. You held yourself together in moments that tried to shatter you. And now, as you speak your truth, as you name your pain, you are not breaking down, you are breaking free. We must create a world where people are not punished for their honesty, where vulnerability is not mistaken for fragility. We must be the kind of people who listen without judgment, who hold space for the wounded, who understand that healing is not about forgetting, but about honoring what we have been through. Because when someone says, I am hurting, they are not asking to be pitied, they are asking to be seen. Let us not teach people to silence their truth for the comfort of others. Let us not rush them through grief or bury their tears with false smiles. Let us instead remind them that their story matters, that their pain is real, and that the first act of bravery is simply saying, this hurt me. Naming injustice gives power to the silence and brings light to hidden wounds. There is something deeply transformative about giving a name to the wrong that was done. It is more than just speaking, it is reclaiming. For too long, many have been taught to stay quiet about what broke them, as though silence was a virtue and suffering in secret was strength. But what good is strength if it means we have to pretend we were never hurt at all? What comfort does silence offer except to those who caused the pain? When someone finds the courage to say, this is what happened, they are doing something sacred. They are reaching into the dark corners of their story and pulling it into the light. They are not asking for pity. They are not asking to be seen as broken. They are asking to be heard. And in that moment, the power begins to shift, because pain that is named can no longer be denied. Injustice that is named can no longer hide behind false smiles or polite conversation. Many people struggle with the idea of being labeled a victim. They think it makes them weak or less than. But naming what was done to you does not make you fragile. It makes you honest. It says, this happened to me and it was not right. That sentence alone can crack the silence wide open. It is a declaration of self-worth, of truth, of a refusal to carry shame that does not belong to you. There are those who will say, what good does it do to dwell on the past? But this is not about dwelling. This is about revealing. What remains hidden festers, what is left unspoken festers. When you name the injustice, you give it shape, and in doing so, you begin to take away its control. The silence that once suffocated you begins to lift, and your story becomes a light for others who thought they were the only ones in the dark. Naming injustice is also an act of resistance. It pushes back against a world that often prefers the comfort of denial. It says, I will not let this be brushed aside. I will not let my pain be minimized. That kind of truth-telling is powerful. It moves mountains inside of people. It creates space where healing can finally begin. Some will try to convince you that you are exaggerating, that you are making too much of something small. But you know your story. You lived it. You felt the weight of the hurt, the sting of the betrayal, the ache of being unseen. Do not let anyone tell you that your truth is too loud or too inconvenient. Your voice is not a disruption. It is a necessary force. It is how you protect your heart and how you let others know they are not alone. And so, when you name the injustice, do it with your head held high. Speak with the strength of someone who has walked through fire and is still standing. Speak with the softness of someone who knows what it means to hurt deeply. Speak not for approval, but for liberation. Because when you tell your truth, you remind others that they can too. This world needs more truth. It needs more honesty wrapped in love, more stories told in full, and it needs people like you brave enough to name what tried to break you and strong enough to keep going anyway. Healing does not follow a timeline set by others. It honors its own sacred rhythm. You cannot rush a heart that is still mending. You cannot push a soul to rise before it has gathered the strength to stand. Yet this world is quick to place expectations on those who are hurting. It says, move on when wounds are still open. It says, forgive before the pain has even been named. It says, be strong without understanding what it truly means to be strong when you are still carrying the weight of what broke you. But healing is not a race. It is not something that can be counted in weeks or measured by how well you hide your tears. Healing is a quiet, sacred journey that unfolds in its own time. Some days you will feel light again. Some days the grief will return uninvited. Some days you will laugh without guilt. Some days you will cry without explanation. And all of it is part of the process. All of it is worthy. All of it matters. Too often people believe that if you are still affected by something, then you are holding on too long. But holding on is not the same as being stuck. Sometimes it is the heart's way of protecting itself. Sometimes it is the spirit's way of saying, I am still learning how to breathe again. And that is nothing to be ashamed of. There is no weakness in taking your time. There is no failure in needing space to feel the fullness of your experience. Others may try to make you feel guilty for not bouncing back quickly. They may grow impatient with your tears, but your healing is not their performance. Your pain does not need to be packaged neatly for anyone else's comfort. What you have lived through cannot be erased with time alone. It requires tenderness, patience, and compassion, especially compassion for yourself. When we try to meet other people's deadlines for our healing, we only push the pain deeper. We silence ourselves. We wear masks. We pretend we are fine when we are breaking inside. But when we honor the natural rhythm of our healing, we move with honesty. We move with grace. We let the tears come when they need to come. We speak the truth even when our voice shakes. And little by little, the pieces begin to come back together. Healing is not linear. It moves in circles, in waves, in echoes. It brings you forward, then pulls you back, only to take you deeper into yourself. It does not demand perfection. It asks for presence. It asks for you to be kind with yourself on the hard days and gentle with your heart when it trembles. It asks you to trust that you are not broken. You are becoming. And there is beauty in that. There is beauty in the slow, steady journey back to wholeness. There is strength in honoring your pace, in saying, I am not there yet, but I am on my way. There is power in refusing to be rushed, in standing firm in your truth and letting your healing unfold the way it needs to. Not for others, not for show, but for you. Because in the end, healing is not about forgetting what happened. It is about remembering who you are beneath it all and loving that person enough to let them take all the time they need. Validating victimhood is not encouraging stagnation, but offering the soil where strength can grow. There is this idea that if you admit you've been a victim, you are choosing to stay in that place forever. But that is a misunderstanding born out of discomfort, not truth. Validating someone's pain does not trap them in it. It creates a space where healing is not just possible, but welcomed. It says, I see you and I believe you. And those simple words can become the very foundation upon which someone begins to rise. You cannot rebuild something you refuse to acknowledge was ever broken, and you cannot truly grow from something you are told to forget too quickly. When someone is hurting, when someone has suffered, rushing them to strength is like planting a seed and demanding fruit the next morning. Strength is not instant. It takes root in honesty. It flourishes when given care and patience, and the first act of care is to say, yes, what happened to you matters. There is nothing weak about needing time to process. There is nothing dramatic about needing to be heard. The world has taught people to dismiss their pain because it makes others uncomfortable. But pushing people to move on without letting them feel is not resilience, it is repression. And repressed pain does not disappear. It shows up in silence, in tension, in avoidance, in all the ways we learn to survive instead of live. When we validate someone's victimhood, we're not saying, stay there. We're saying, it's okay that you're here right now. And that difference is everything. It's the difference between shaming someone into silence and giving them a safe place to speak. It's the difference between emotional isolation and connection. And it's that connection that begins to water the seeds of strength. Because strength doesn't bloom in judgment. It blooms in compassion. Imagine a child who falls and scrapes their knee. Do we tell them to get over it, to stop crying, to be stronger? Or do we kneel beside them, hold their hand, and say, that must hurt, I'm here? Grown wounds need the same tenderness. Just because we get older doesn't mean our pain becomes less real or less worthy of attention. Everyone deserves to be seen where they are, especially when where they are is a place of struggle. And we have to remember, too, that the courage to say I've been hurt is already strength in motion. The willingness to be vulnerable, to admit that something harmed you, that is not weakness. That is the beginning of healing. That is the moment the heart starts reaching for light again, but only if that honesty is met with kindness. So no, validating victimhood does not mean we are encouraging people to live there forever. It means we are giving them the space to rest before they rebuild. It means we are reminding them that it's okay to not be okay, and that strength will come not in spite of their story, but through it. The truth is, people do not stay stuck because they are validated. They stay stuck because they are dismissed. They are shamed. They are silenced. But when you give someone the dignity of being believed, when you say your pain is real and you deserve to heal, you offer them the first piece of something they can build a new life on: hope. True resilience is not born in denial, but in the courage to face the full weight of what was endured. There is a strength that people often celebrate, the kind that keeps moving, keeps smiling, keeps pretending everything is fine. But that kind of strength, when it is built on silence and suppression, is more survival than resilience. Real resilience is not about how well you hide your wounds. It is about how bravely you look at them, how gently you hold them, how honestly you name them. There is nothing noble in pretending something did not happen just because it makes people uneasy. Denial might feel easier in the moment. It offers the illusion of control, but the truth is it delays the healing that only truth can begin. Denial says, if I don't speak of it, it loses its power. But all it really does is drive the pain deeper into the soul, where it begins to shape everything from the shadow. Your thoughts, your choices, your relationships all start to be built around something you cannot name. Resilience that is born from truth looks different. It is quiet sometimes, it shakes and stumbles, it pauses often, but it always walks forward with honesty. It says, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. And still, here I am. It is not afraid of the tears or the tremble. It does not run from the past, but instead learns how to carry it with grace. It finds strength not in forgetting, but in surviving with the full story still intact. We do ourselves a disservice when we celebrate only the strength that looks tidy, because healing is messy, growth is not always graceful, and sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is sit in the truth and refuse to run. To say, I will not deny what I've been through, and I will not pretend that I am untouched. That kind of honesty can feel like weakness to others, but it is the foundation of everything resilient. So many people are praised for their silence, for their ability to keep going as though nothing ever happened. But silence should not be mistaken for strength. Sometimes silence is fear. Sometimes silence is a desperate attempt to hold the pieces together, and that is understandable. But we cannot live whole lives while denying what made us feel broken. Resilience means giving yourself permission to fall apart when you need to and still trust that you will rise again. It means allowing your story to be seen, not just the victories, but the valleys, the nights you could not sleep, the days you could not speak, the moments you almost gave up but didn't. That is where resilience is born. Not in the mask, but in the mirror. Not in pretending, but in persevering through truth. And that truth needs space. It needs kindness. It needs the right to be spoken out loud. That is why validating victimhood is not weakness. It is where strength begins. It gives people the permission to face what they have endured without fear of being judged. And in that space, resilience begins to bloom. Not rushed, not forced, but deeply rooted in reality. Let no one tell you that the only way to be strong is to stay silent. Let no one make you believe that denying your pain will set you free. Your strength is not found in what you bury. It is found in what you have survived, and in the courage it takes to finally speak it. Compassion, not condemnation, is the bridge from surviving to thriving. There are moments in life when all a person needs is to be held with understanding, not fixed, not analyzed, just simply seen and accepted. Yet too often those who have been wounded are met with judgment instead of grace. They are told they're too sensitive, too emotional, too stuck. But no one heals under a microscope. No one thrives under constant scrutiny. What people need most, especially when they are carrying unseen burdens, is compassion. The kind that speaks softly and listens deeply. When someone is in pain, their greatest fear is often not the memory of what happened, but the fear that no one will understand, that they will be dismissed, blamed, or told to move on too quickly. And in those moments, the difference between healing and further harm lies in how we respond. Condemnation says, you should be over this by now. Compassion says, take your time, I'm here. One shuts the door, the other opens it wide. The truth is, most people who have been hurt already carry more self-blame than anyone can see. They already question their worth. They already wonder if they're too much. What they do not need is the added weight of judgment from the outside. What they need is someone who can look past the pain and see the person not as broken, but as human. Compassion does not mean we leave people where they are. It means we walk with them at their pace until they are strong enough to walk on their own. It means we stop measuring people's healing by how quickly they smile again. It means we recognize that some wounds are invisible, and those can take the longest to heal, but even invisible wounds deserve the same care as any scar you can touch. When we choose compassion, we are saying, your pain matters to me, even if I don't fully understand it. We are saying, you don't have to carry this alone. And in a world that often praises independence and stoicism, that kind of tenderness can be revolutionary. It can be the turning point in someone's story. It can be the moment they start to believe in healing again. There's no power in condemnation. It may feel strong, it may feel like tough love, but more often than not, it builds walls where bridges should be. And people who have been through real pain don't need walls. They need paths. They need to know that the journey from surviving to thriving is possible and that they won't be shamed for taking the long road. Everyone you meet is carrying something you cannot see. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do for another is to simply be kind, to choose empathy over judgment, to choose patience over pressure. You may not be able to fix what hurt them, but you can help them feel safe again. And that is where healing begins, in safety, in softness, in the quiet space where people feel free to be exactly where they are. Thriving does not begin with self-help slogans or forced positivity. It begins with love, the kind that sits with pain, the kind that holds space, the kind that says, you matter even here. And when compassion is given freely, it becomes the soil where new life begins to grow. So let us not be quick to correct, quick to criticize, or quick to conclude. Let us be the ones who stay. Let us be the ones who listen, because sometimes all it takes to help someone find their way again is to walk beside them without asking them to hurry. The truth is, healing is not a straight path, and pain does not vanish simply because we wish it would. When we acknowledge our wounds, when we name the injustices done to us, when we give ourselves permission to heal in our own time and at our own pace, we are not clinging to weakness. We are walking through strength, real strength, the kind that trembles but never quits, the kind that breaks but chooses to rebuild anyway. This is not about staying in victimhood. It is about honoring the parts of our story that shaped us, not with shame, but with understanding. It is about creating a world where people are not rushed to recover, not judged for remembering, and not silenced for speaking. Because when we choose compassion over criticism, when we choose truth over denial, and when we choose presence over pressure, we help others find the courage to keep going, and that courage is how we all begin to thrive. So to every soul listening, may you never feel less than for feeling deeply. May you honor your journey, your voice, your truth, and may you always know that your healing, no matter how slow or quiet, is sacred. Good luck on your journey, and thank you for walking through this truth with me. My dear sisters, daughters, mothers, and friends, let me tell you something. A woman's joy is like the sun pouring through a window at dawn. It touches everything, wraps itself around every corner, and breathes life into all who stand in its glow. A happy woman is not just a woman, she is a movement. She is a song that hums through the house, a rhythm that keeps the hearts in her home beating steady and strong. Now, don't misunderstand me. Happiness isn't just a painted-on smile or a polite nod when your soul is weary. No, my dear, happiness is a deep well within you. It is the power you carry in your hands, in your voice, in your laughter that dances through the air. It is the wisdom in your walk, the kindness in your words, the strength in your silence. When a woman is happy, she builds bridges instead of walls. She lifts rather than breaks. She shines, and in her light, the people around her grow. A child who sees his mother smile learns that the world can be gentle. A husband who feels his wife's joy stands taller. A home filled with a woman's laughter becomes a sanctuary, a place where love is not just spoken, but lived. But hear me now. Your happiness is your birthright, not a gift you wait for. You do not need permission to be joyful. You do not need to shrink yourself so others may shine. Stand in your fullness, own your light, and let it spill over like rain on thirsty ground. A woman's joy is the heartbeat of the home. When she flourishes, love and warmth follow. That is no small thing, no fleeting thought, no delicate whisper in the wind. It is a truth as steady as the rising sun, as sure as the tide that kisses the shore. When a woman carries happiness within her, it spills into everything she touches, every word she speaks, every room she walks into. It lingers in the air like the sweet scent of blooming flowers, wrapping around the walls, resting in the laughter of her children, settling into the hearts of those she loves. Now, happiness is not something given, it is something claimed. A woman does not wait for joy to come knocking like an uninvited guest. No, she reaches for it. She builds it with her hands, shapes it with her will, nurtures it with the fullness of her spirit. She understands that her happiness is not selfish, not something to be bargained or reasoned away. It is power. It is necessity. It is the fire that warms her home, the light that guides those within it. When a woman is happy, truly happy, she does not merely exist, she thrives. She moves with grace, speaks with kindness, listens with patience. Her laughter is not just a sound, but an invitation, a melody that calls others to gather close, to rest, to find comfort in her presence. And in that comfort, love is born. Children grow up knowing that the world is safe, that love is abundant, that peace can be found even in the simplest of moments. A partner finds strength in her joy, not because she carries the weight of the world, but because she reminds him that life is not just about burdens. It is about beauty, about connection, about moments that make the struggle worthwhile. But let us be clear, happiness does not mean perfection. It does not mean a life without hardship, without struggle, without days that feel too long and nights that feel too heavy. A happy woman is not one who has never known pain. She is one who has danced through the storm, who has learned the art of holding on to light even in the darkest hours. She is one who knows that joy is not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of love, of faith, of an unshakable belief that tomorrow holds promise. And so, she does not shrink herself for the comfort of others, does not silence her laughter to make space for someone else's gloom. She stands tall, she shines bright. She allows herself to be whole, for when she does, she gives permission to those around her to do the same. A happy woman does not demand happiness from others, she inspires it. She does not force love into the corners of her home, she becomes love itself. There is magic in a woman's happiness, a power that cannot be measured but is always felt. It is in the way she sings while making breakfast, in the way she holds a child close after a long day, in the way she breathes peace into moments of chaos. It is in the way she loves fiercely and fully, with hands that heal and words that lift. It is in the way she reminds everyone around her that joy is not something to be found. It is something to be made, to be chosen, to be lived. So to every woman, let your happiness be the rhythm that keeps your home alive. Let it be the sun that warms the hearts of those you love. And never forget, when you flourish, love and warmth will always follow. Happiness is not a luxury. It is a necessity that fuels strength, resilience, and love. It is not an afterthought, not something to be earned only after the work is done, the children are settled, the house is quiet. No, happiness is the very breath that keeps the soul alive, the fire that keeps the spirit burning, the foundation upon which love and peace are built. A woman who understands this does not treat her happiness as an option. She treats it as a priority, as something sacred, something she must protect, nurture, and carry with her every single day. Too often, women are taught to give, to serve, to pour themselves out until there is nothing left. They are told that their worth is measured in sacrifice, in how much they endure, in how well they care for others while ignoring their own needs. But let me tell you something. An empty heart cannot give love, a weary soul cannot offer light, and a woman who forgets herself will soon find that even the strongest hands grow tired. Happiness is not a reward at the end of the road. It is the road itself. It is the strength that allows a woman to lift not only those around her, but also herself. When a woman chooses joy, she is choosing life. She is choosing to wake up with hope, to walk with confidence, to face challenges with a heart that is full rather than drained. She understands that happiness is not selfish, it is fuel. It is what allows her to keep going when days are long and burdens are heavy. It is what helps her laugh even when the world expects her to cry. It is what gives her the strength to love, not just in the easy moments, but in the hard ones too. And love, oh, love flourishes where happiness dwells. A woman who embraces her own joy does not love with exhaustion, does not give with resentment, does not carry the weight of the world in silence. She loves with abundance, with energy, with a spirit that is full rather than depleted. Her happiness is not a burden to others, it is a gift. It is the warmth that fills the home, the peace that lingers in every corner, the light that guides those around her. A joyful woman creates a joyful home, and a joyful home is a place where love does not struggle to survive, but thrives without restraint. But let me tell you this. Happiness is not something that waits for the right moment, for the perfect circumstances, for the stars to align. It is not hidden in another person's love, not buried in the promises of tomorrow. Happiness is here, now, within. It is in the small things, a deep breath in the morning, the sound of laughter ringing through the house, the warmth of the sun on your skin. It is in the way you choose to see the world, the way you choose to carry yourself, the way you decide that no matter what comes, your spirit will not be broken. A happy woman is not one who has never known pain. She is one who has made peace with her past, who holds hope for her future, who stands firmly in the present, knowing that joy is not something that can be taken, it is something that can only be given away, and she does not give it away lightly. She holds it close, protects it fiercely, and understands that in doing so, she is not only choosing herself, but choosing love, choosing strength, choosing a life that is full and whole. So, to every woman listening, do not wait for happiness. Claim it, live it. Let it be the foundation upon which you build your days, the light that guides your steps, the rhythm that keeps your heart steady. For when you do, you will find that strength, resilience, and love will always follow. A fulfilled woman nurtures with laughter, heals with kindness, and builds with grace. She does not simply exist in the spaces she occupies, she breathes life into them. She does not just move through the day, she fills it with purpose, with love, with meaning. A woman who is whole, who carries joy within her, becomes the foundation on which peace is built, the quiet force that keeps everything steady, the light that reminds those around her that even in chaos, warmth still exists. There is something about the laughter of a happy woman. It is not just a sound, it is a presence. It lingers in the air, softens the sharp edges of a difficult day, turns a house into a home. When a woman is at peace with herself, she brings that peace into every conversation, every interaction, every embrace. Her joy is not separate from her strength. It is the very thing that makes her strong. She can stand tall not because life has been easy, but because she has learned that joy is not found in the absence of struggle, but in the ability to rise despite it. Her kindness is not weakness, it is power. She does not use it to please, to bend, to break herself in the name of making others comfortable. No, her kindness is intentional. It is in the way she listens with her whole heart, the way she lifts others not by carrying their burdens, but by showing them they have the strength to carry their own. It is in the way she forgives without losing herself, in the way she gives love freely without asking for permission. Her kindness does not come from a place of emptiness, but from a well that she has filled with her own love, her own care, her own devotion to nurturing her soul. And she builds not just homes, not just families, but legacies. She builds with her words, her actions, her choices. She builds by showing up, by being present, by making every person who crosses her path feel seen, heard, valued. She builds not for recognition, not for applause, but because she understands that true strength is not in tearing down, but in lifting up. She builds bridges instead of walls, connections instead of distances, moments that will outlive her presence, lessons that will be carried forward long after she is gone. A fulfilled woman is not someone who has never known heartbreak. She is someone who has chosen time and time again to rise from it. She is someone who understands that happiness is not given, it is made. That love is not just spoken, it is lived. That kindness is not just for others, it is for herself too. She knows that she is worthy of the same love she so freely gives, the same care she so naturally offers, the same peace she so beautifully creates. And when she moves through the world, she does so with grace. Not the kind that asks her to be small, not the kind that tells her to stay quiet, but the kind that allows her to stand in her fullness, in her truth, in her power. Her grace is not about perfection, it is about presence. It is about knowing that even in her flaws, even in her struggles, she is enough. That her worth is not tied to how much she gives, but to the simple, undeniable truth that she is here, she is whole, and she is radiant. So, to every woman listening, laugh freely, love deeply, build boldly. Do not wait for someone else to give you permission to be whole. You are already complete. You are already strong. And when you nurture with laughter, heal with kindness, and build with grace, you do not just transform your own life, you transform the world around you. True happiness comes from within. Own it, protect it, and let it shine unapologetically. A woman's joy is not something borrowed, not something waiting in the hands of another, not a gift that can only be unwrapped when the world decides she has earned it. No, her happiness is hers to claim, hers to nurture, hers to wear like a crown that does not need approval to be seen. It is a light that is not lit by circumstance, but by the fire within her, a glow that does not flicker because of the opinions of others. A woman who understands this does not search for happiness in places where it cannot be found. She does not chase it in people who do not know how to give it, does not bury it in the weight of responsibilities that were never meant to steal her joy, does not silence it in the name of being what the world expects her to be. She knows that happiness is not something to be found, it is something to be made, it is something to be built. With the small sacred moments of life, with the laughter shared across a dinner table, with the quiet peace of a morning spent in stillness, with the freedom to be herself without apology. And because her happiness is her own, she protects it. She does not let the world tell her that her joy is too much, that her laughter is too loud, that her dreams are too big. She does not let bitterness take root in her heart, does not allow the weight of expectation to steal her light. She understands that protecting her joy is not selfish, it is survival. It is knowing that she cannot pour from an empty cup, cannot give love when she has not given it to herself first. A happy woman is not one who has never known pain, but one who refuses to let pain define her. She does not let the past hold her hostage, does not let disappointments dim her spirit. She chooses every single day to find joy, to embrace it, to hold on to it as tightly as she holds on to love. And she shines, oh how she shines. She does not shrink herself to make others comfortable, does not dim her light to make space for someone else's insecurities. She understands that her happiness is not just for her, it is a gift to everyone around her. When she is happy, she lifts others. When she is joyful, she spreads that joy. Her happiness is a force, a ripple that touches the lives of those who cross her path. A home with a happy woman is not just a place, it is a refuge. It is where warmth resides, where love flows, where peace is not just an idea, but a way of living. She does not wait for happiness to come knocking. She does not wait for the right time, the right person, the right circumstance. She creates it, cultivates it, grows it with every choice she makes. She understands that joy is not something that happens to her, it is something she chooses. And because she chooses it, she does not apologize for it. She does not explain why she laughs loudly, why she dances freely, why she finds beauty in the simplest things. She does not need permission to be happy, she simply is. And in her happiness, she teaches others. She teaches her children that joy is not something to be earned, but something to be embraced. She teaches her family that love and laughter belong in the same breath. She teaches the world that a woman's happiness is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the foundation of a home, the strength of a family, the heartbeat of love itself. So, to every woman listening, own your joy, protect it fiercely, and shine without hesitation. Your happiness is your power, your light, your gift to the world. Let no one take it from you. When a woman prioritizes her well-being, she empowers everyone around her. She is not being selfish, nor is she neglecting those she loves. She is simply understanding a truth that too many have been taught to forget. That she, too, is worthy of care, of peace, of moments that belong to her and her alone. A woman who chooses to pour into herself does not take away from her family. She strengthens them. She does not abandon her responsibilities. She meets them with a fuller heart, a steadier mind, a lighter. Too often, women are told that their love is measured in sacrifice, that the more they give, the more they are worth. But love is not meant to empty a woman, to leave her exhausted, stretched too thin, lost in the roles she plays for others. Love is meant to fill, to sustain, to breathe life back into her. A woman who understands this does not wait until she is burned out to seek rest, does not wait until she is completely drained before she refills herself. She listens to the whispers of her own needs, honors them, and embraces the truth that she does not have to be everything to everyone at the cost of being nothing to herself. When a woman prioritizes herself, she teaches those around her the power of balance. A child who sees his mother take time for herself learns that self-care is not neglect, it is necessity. A daughter who watches her mother set boundaries grows into a woman who does not apologize for having her own. A partner who sees a woman value herself understands that love is not about losing oneself, but about growing together, each person whole, each person nurtured. A household where a woman is cared for is a household that thrives. It is a place where love is not given out of obligation, but shared freely, where warmth does not come from exhaustion, but from joy, where patience is not forced, but flows naturally because no one is running on empty. There is nothing noble about self-neglect. There is no reward for being the most tired, the most worn down, the most stretched beyond capacity. A woman who loves herself enough to rest, enough to seek joy, enough to embrace moments of peace, is a woman who has understood the secret to true strength. Strength is not found in how much one can endure, but in knowing when to pause, when to breathe, when to refill the soul. And when a woman does this, when she prioritizes her well-being, she creates a ripple effect that touches everyone around her. She is calmer in her love, more present in her moments, more open in her heart. She listens without frustration because she has first listened to herself. She gives without resentment because she has first given to herself. She embraces life fully because she has learned that her life too is meant to be lived, not just managed. She walks into a room not carrying the weight of the world, but radiating the kind of energy that lifts others, that inspires them, that makes them feel lighter just by being near her. A woman who makes herself a priority does not love any less, she loves better. She does not give any less, she gives more because she is giving from a place of abundance rather than depletion. She does not withdraw from those she loves, she connects with them in deeper, more meaningful ways. She becomes the example, the proof that a woman can be strong and soft, nurturing and independent, giving and self-fulfilled all at once. So to every woman listening, choose yourself, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. Fill your soul, protect your peace, and know that in doing so, you are not only empowering yourself, but everyone who has the blessing of being in your presence. Love flows effortlessly from a woman who is at peace with herself. It is not forced, not strained, not something she has to manufacture from a place of exhaustion. It is natural. like the wind that moves through the trees, like the river that finds its way to the ocean. A woman who has found peace within herself does not love out of duty. She loves because it is who she is. Her heart is not heavy with resentment, not burdened with the weight of neglect, not caught in the struggle of giving more than she has. No, her love is light, free, abundant. But this kind of love does not come from chasing perfection. It does not come from pleasing everyone, from bending until she breaks, from quieting her own needs to make room for the expectations of others. It comes from a deep, unwavering understanding that she, too, is worthy of peace, that she does not have to earn rest, that she does not have to prove her worth by how much she sacrifices. She knows that love is not a test, not a measurement of how much she can endure, but a gift to be given and received in balance. A peaceful woman does not give love with fear in her heart, does not offer it with the expectation of return, does not measure it in transactions. She gives freely because she is full, because her spirit is calm, because she does not need validation to know that love is meant to be shared, not begged for. She does not hold on to bitterness, does not carry past wounds into present moments, does not build walls where bridges should be. She understands that love is not meant to be a battle, not meant to be something that drains, but something that replenishes, something that expands, something that lifts rather than weighs down. And oh, how her love transforms a home. A woman who is at peace with herself does not move through the house with tension in her shoulders, with words that cut, with sighs that tell of exhaustion too deep to be spoken. No, she moves with grace, with warmth, with a quiet kind of presence that makes those around her feel safe. She listens with patience because she is not rushing, not stretching herself so thin that she has no time to be still. She embraces without hesitation because her arms are not too weary to hold those she loves. She laughs not out of obligation, but because joy has become a natural part of her being. This kind of peace does not mean that life is without struggle. It does not mean that there are no hard days, no moments of frustration, no nights when exhaustion settles in. But a woman who has found peace within herself does not let those moments define her. She does not let them steal her joy, does not let them harden her heart. She understands that peace is not something that happens to her. It is something she chooses, something she creates, something she carries with her even when the world is unsteady. Her love is steady because she is steady. She does not run from herself, does not abandon her own needs, does not make herself small to fit into someone else's idea of who she should be. She stands firm, she loves boldly, she gives with a heart that is open but never empty. And in doing so, she teaches those around her what love truly means. She teaches them that love is not control, not sacrifice without return, not something that should ever leave a person feeling drained. She teaches them that love, when given from a place of peace, is the most powerful thing in the world. So, to every woman listening, seek your peace, guard it fiercely, and let your love flow from a place of fullness, not depletion. For when you are at peace with yourself, your love will not only transform your home, but the world around you. A woman who knows her worth moves differently. She walks with a quiet confidence, not demanding attention, but receiving it naturally. She does not shrink to fit into spaces too small for her spirit, does not lower her voice to make others comfortable, does not seek permission to exist fully in her own skin. She knows that her worth is not tied to how much she gives, how much she endures, how much she sacrifices. It is not something that fluctuates with the opinions of others, not something that can be taken away, not something she has to prove. It simply is. It has always been. When a woman recognizes her worth, she carries herself with a different kind of energy. It is not arrogance, not pride, but an unshakable understanding that she is enough, that she does not need validation to be valuable, does not need constant reassurance to stand tall, does not need to justify her existence by how much she can do for others. She does not settle for love that is conditional, does not accept treatment that is beneath her, does not tolerate spaces that do not honor her presence. She loves deeply, but she does not beg. She gives freely, but she does not give to those who only take. She stands in her power not because she wants to be above others, but because she refuses to be beneath anyone. And when a woman knows her worth, she does not compete, she uplifts. She does not envy, she celebrates. She does not tear others down, she builds them up. Because she understands that her value is not diminished by the success of another, that her light does not dim when someone else shines. A confident woman does not see others as threats, she sees them as sisters, as allies, as reflections of the same strength that lives within her. She knows that there is enough space for everyone. Enough love for everyone, enough success for everyone. She does not need to push others down to rise, she rises, and in doing so, she pulls others up with her. Her relationships change when she knows her worth. She no longer entertains love that is lukewarm, no longer accepts half-hearted efforts, no longer finds comfort in places where she is only tolerated rather than cherished. She does not chase people who make her feel small, does not hold on to relationships that drain her, does not settle for anything less than what she deserves, because she understands that love is not meant to be earned through suffering, not meant to be fought for with tears and broken pieces of herself. Love is meant to be mutual, meant to be given freely, meant to be something that strengthens rather than weakens. And she would rather stand alone in her power than be surrounded by those who do not see her value. And oh, how she carries herself differently in the world. She does not walk in fear, does not hesitate to take up space, does not silence herself to avoid discomfort. She speaks with conviction because she trusts her voice. She moves with purpose because she knows where she is going. She embraces herself fully, flaws and all, because she understands that perfection is not the goal, wholeness is. She does not waste time comparing herself to others, does not measure her worth against unrealistic standards, does not seek approval in places that have never truly seen her. She is enough exactly as she is. And that knowledge is what makes her unstoppable. A home with a woman who knows her worth is a home filled with strength, with security, with unwavering love. She teaches her children that they too are worthy, that they do not have to prove themselves to be loved, that their value is not determined by what they can offer, but by who they are. She teaches them to stand tall, to walk boldly, to never settle for anything less than what they deserve. She teaches them that love should not diminish them, but empower them. And she does not just teach this with words, she teaches it by example, by how she carries herself, by the boundaries she sets, by the love she allows and the love she refuses to accept. A woman who knows her worth is a force. She does not ask for permission to be happy. She does not wait for the world to tell her she is enough. She claims it, she owns it, and because of that, she does not just keep herself happy, she keeps the whole house happy. A happy woman is not just a blessing to herself. She is a light that warms everyone around her. She owns her joy, protects her peace, prioritizes her well-being, and loves from a place of fullness, not depletion. She knows that true strength is not found in endless sacrifice, but in balance, in self-respect, in embracing the life she deserves. She does not settle, does not shrink, does not apologize for shining. Instead, she stands tall, knowing that when she is happy, her home flourishes, her relationships deepen, and her love becomes a force that uplifts everyone in its path. So to every woman listening, choose happiness without guilt. Love yourself without hesitation, and never forget that you are the heart of your home, the foundation of love, and the keeper of warmth. May you walk in confidence, live in joy, and spread the light of your happiness wherever you go. Good luck on your journey, and may you always remember that your happiness is not just important, it is essential. Thank you. Hey everyone, my sisters, my daughters, my mothers, stand up. Stand up in your beauty and your power and your unwavering truth. For you, woman, are made of fire and moonlight, of thunder and tenderness, of iron and honey. You have been tried, you have been tested, but still you rise. There have been days when the weight of the world pressed against your shoulders, whispering, sit down, be still, be quiet. But you, blessed woman, were never made to shrink. You were never meant to disappear behind closed doors or dim your glow for the comfort of others. You have walked through storms barefoot, carrying burdens too heavy for most. You have wiped your own tears and turned them into rivers of wisdom. You have been told you can, and yet you did. You have been pushed down, and yet you rose. And oh, how you rose. Like the morning sun that refuses to be swallowed by the night, she bends but never breaks, like the willow that dances with the storm. A woman of resilience is not made of stone, nor is she unshaken by the tempests of life. She is flesh and spirit, heart and mind, molded by trials, yet never undone by them. When the winds howl and the rain lashes against her soul, she does not shatter. She moves, she sways, she leans with the force of struggle, but she does not fall. Like the willow that bows gracefully under the storm's fury, she understands that survival is not in resistance, but in the art of adaptation. She has faced battles not of her own choosing, heartbreak that tried to unmake her, loss that carved hollow spaces within her, rejection that whispered she was not enough, and yet she stands, not as she was before, but as something wiser, something deeper, something unshakable in spirit. Her strength is not in unyielding hardness, but in the softness that refuses to be destroyed. It is in the way she finds her rhythm again when the world has knocked her off balance. It is in the way she learns to laugh even after sorrow has tried to steal her joy. A resilient woman does not crumble when life shifts beneath her feet. She understands that to endure is to evolve. She does not waste time lamenting the winds that try to uproot her. She spreads her arms, catches the breeze, and lets it carry her forward. She does not break beneath the weight of struggle. She reshapes herself around it, making room for new strength, new wisdom, new beginnings. There are days when the world tries to convince her that she is fragile, that she must shrink herself to fit into the narrow spaces others have carved for her. But she knows better. She knows that softness is not weakness, that gentleness does not mean surrender. She knows that being resilient does not mean she must never fall, only that she must always rise. She knows that even when her voice trembles, even when her hands shake, she holds power beyond measure, the power to endure, to overcome, to thrive. She carries generations of women within her, women who have loved fiercely, fought bravely, and stood tall, even when the earth beneath them quaked. She is the embodiment of every story of survival, every lesson of perseverance, every whisper of hope passed down through time. She is the woman who finds light in the darkest corners, the woman who builds bridges over obstacles meant to stop her, the woman who does not just withstand storms, but learns to dance in the rain. And when the winds finally quiet and the sun breaks through once more, she does not stand as she was before. She stands taller, stronger, unshaken in spirit, unbowed in soul, because she has learned the truth of her nature. She is not made to be broken. She is made to bend, to move, to grow, and to rise. She is resilience. She is power. She is unstoppable. Her scars are not wounds. They are medals of survival, proof that she endured and conquered. A resilient woman does not hide her scars. She does not cover them in shame or speak of them in hushed tones. She wears them with pride, not because the pain did not touch her, but because it did, and still she stands. Each scar is a story, a chapter of her journey, a mark that says, I was there, I fought, I survived. They are not reminders of suffering, but symbols of strength, proof that even when she was wounded, she refused to be defeated. Life has tested her in ways that words cannot fully capture. There were nights when sorrow curled around her like a heavy fog, days when she wondered if the weight of her struggles would ever lift. She has known betrayal, disappointment, and loss. She has cried silent tears into her pillow, hidden her pain behind a brave smile, and walked through fire with no promise of relief. And yet, here she is, whole, unshaken in spirit, radiant with the kind of beauty that only comes from enduring the storm and stepping into the light. A scar is not the end of a story, it is proof that healing has taken place. The wound may have been deep, but she did not let it consume her. She fought through the darkness, stitched herself back together with courage, and found a way to keep going. It is easy to let pain define you, to become bitter, to close yourself off. But she chooses another way. She chooses to let her scars be a map of where she has been, not a prison that holds her back. She chooses to embrace them as part of her journey, as evidence of battles fought and won. There are those who may look at her scars and see weakness. They may think she has been broken beyond repair, but they do not see what lies beneath. They do not see the fire in her eyes, the strength in her steps, the quiet resilience in her soul. They do not understand that scars are not signs of defeat. They are marks of triumph. Each one tells the world, I did not give up, I did not surrender, I am still here. She knows that pain changes people. It can make them fearful, hesitant, unsure of their worth. But she refuses to let pain steal her light. She refuses to let it make her small. Instead, she allows it to refine her, to shape her into something even more powerful. She walks with a confidence that is not born from an easy life, but from knowing she has survived the hardest days and emerged stronger. She does not flinch when new challenges arise, because she carries the proof of past victories on her skin, in her heart, in the depths of her soul. A resilient woman does not erase her past, nor does she let it define her. She acknowledges it, honors it, and moves forward with grace. She knows that true beauty is not in perfection, but in the ability to rise after falling. And so she stands proud, unafraid, radiant with the knowledge that she has conquered every battle meant to break her. She is not broken. She is not weak. She is a warrior wrapped in grace, a survivor clothed in power. And her scars, they are her crown. A resilient woman does not wait for doors to open. She builds her own. She has spent too much time knocking on doors that never opened, waiting for permission that never came, and hoping for opportunities that others held just out of reach. But she has learned something powerful. She is not meant to wait. She is not meant to stand outside, pressing her ear to the walls, hoping someone on the other side will recognize her worth. No, she is meant to create, to build, to carve her own path where none existed before. She has heard the word no more times than she can count. She has been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. They told her she was too much, too bold, too ambitious. They told her she should be patient, that she should wait her turn, that she should shrink herself into something more manageable. But she knows better. She knows that waiting for permission is a trap, a way to keep her caged in a life smaller than the one she is meant to live. And so she stops waiting. She picks up the tools of her own making, her voice, her talent, her resilience, and she builds. She builds not just for herself, but for the women who will come after her. She knows that every step she takes makes the road a little easier for another woman to follow. She does not hoard knowledge or guard success like a secret. She extends a hand, lifts others up, and proves that there is space for all who dare to claim it. She does not see other women as competition. She sees them as allies, as sisters, as fellow warriors in the fight to create something greater. The world may not always welcome her with open arms, but she does not need permission to exist in her fullness. She does not ask, am I allowed to dream this big? She dreams anyway. She does not wonder, is there space for me here? She makes space. She does not whisper when she has something to say. She speaks, she roars, she declares her place in the world with unwavering certainty. She understands that the path to greatness is rarely smooth. She has faced setbacks, failures, obstacles that seemed impossible to overcome, but she does not let them stop her. If she cannot go through, she goes around. If she cannot go around, she climbs over. If the way is completely blocked, she creates a new one. She is relentless, not because it is easy, but because she knows she is meant for more. There will be moments of doubt, moments when fear tries to creep in, whispering that she is not enough, that she should settle, that she should stay where it is safe. But she remembers who she is. She remembers the women who came before her, who fought for every inch of ground she now stands on. She remembers the strength that runs through her veins, the fire that refuses to be extinguished. She does not wait for the world to recognize her worth. She knows her worth. She does not wait for doors to open. She builds her own, walks through them and holds them open for those who follow. Because she is a resilient woman, and nothing, not rejection, not doubt, not fear, will keep her from claiming her place in this world. Her voice is not an echo of fear, but a symphony of courage and truth. She was not born to be silent. She was not placed in this world to shrink into the background, to lower her voice so others could be comfortable, to speak only when spoken to. No, she was made to be heard. She was made to fill spaces with the rhythm of her truth, to speak words that carry the weight of experience, to let her voice rise above the noise and make the world listen. There was a time when she hesitated, when she swallowed her words because she feared judgment, when she bit her tongue because she was told it was not her place to speak, when she sat in rooms full of voices louder than hers and convinced herself that silence was easier. But a resilient woman does not stay silent for long. She learns, she grows, she finds her voice. And when she does, she never lets it be taken from her again. Her voice is not just sound, it is power. It is the voice of her ancestors, of the women who fought before her, of the stories that refuse to be forgotten. It is the voice of truth that will not be silenced, no matter how many times the world tries to quiet her. She has spoken when it was difficult, when her voice trembled, when her words felt like rebellion. But she spoke anyway, because she knows that her voice is not just for her. It is for every woman who has been told to stay in the shadows, for every girl who has been taught to be small. She does not speak to please, she speaks to be understood, to be felt, to be remembered. She knows that the truth is not always welcome, that courage is sometimes met with resistance, but that does not stop her. When she speaks, she does so with conviction. She does not ask for permission to be heard. She claims it. Her words are her weapon and her shield. She uses them to build, to heal, to empower. She does not waste them on battles that do not serve her, nor does she throw them away on ears that refuse to listen. She knows that her voice has value, and she does not let it be diminished. She chooses her words wisely, speaks with intention, and stands by what she says. She understands that a voice used for good is a force that cannot be ignored. It sparks change, ignites movements, shifts perspectives. She has seen how one voice, her voice, can inspire others to rise, to speak, to believe in their own power. She knows that a whisper can grow into a roar, that a single truth can break chains that have held for generations. And so she speaks. She speaks for justice, for equality, for love, for herself. She speaks with fire when needed, with grace when necessary, and with unwavering strength always. She does not echo the voices of fear, nor does she repeat the words of those who seek to keep her small. She is not an echo at all. She is an original, a force, a symphony of courage that will not be silenced. She stands, she speaks, she changes the world. One word, one truth, one moment at a time. 2/2, she walks through fire not to be burned, but to be reborn, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. A resilient woman has faced the flames of hardship, felt the heat of struggle, and stepped into moments that could have destroyed her. She has been tested, pushed, and stretched beyond what she thought she could endure, but the fire did not consume her. There were days when the weight of it all felt unbearable, when the road ahead seemed too long, when pain whispered that it would never end. She has walked through storms of doubt, through nights of uncertainty, through losses that tried to break her. She has known suffering intimately, but she has never allowed it to define her. Fire is meant to destroy, to reduce things to ash, to leave behind nothing but remnants of what once was. But not her. She does not fear the fire because she understands its purpose. She walks through it knowing that on the other side, she will not emerge weaker, but stronger. She will not come out as she was before. She will be wiser, sharper, more certain of who she is. She does not run from difficulty, nor does she crumble under its weight. She knows that pain has a way of refining the soul, that struggle can be a teacher, that every trial carries a lesson meant to mold her into something greater. She does not let hardship make her bitter, she lets it make her better. She has learned to embrace the fire, not as her enemy, but as the force that shapes her into something unbreakable. The challenges she faces are not punishments. They are opportunities to rise. She does not ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, she asks, what is this trying to teach me? She does not let wounds fester into regret. She lets them heal into wisdom. A woman like her does not shrink in the face of adversity. She does not bow to circumstances that try to limit her. She stands tall, walks forward, and meets life head on. She is not afraid of hardship because she has faced it before and come out stronger every time. And when she steps out of the fire, she is not the same. She is renewed. She carries with her the lessons, the strength, the resilience that can only be gained by walking through the flames and coming out on the other side. She is not defined by what tried to destroy her. She is defined by how she rose from it. She knows now that she is unstoppable. She knows that no matter what life throws her way, she will face it with the same courage, the same fire that has always burned within her. And so she walks forward, not afraid, not uncertain, but confident that whatever comes next, she is ready. The world may shake her, but it will never shatter her. She is rooted in strength, grounded in grace. She has known the tremors of uncertainty, the sudden storms that come without warning, the weight of burdens meant to break her spirit. She has stood in moments where the ground beneath her feet trembled, where everything she thought was steady seemed to crumble. But no matter how fiercely the world shakes, she does not fall. She is not fragile glass that shatters under pressure. She is the tree with roots that run deep, the foundation that cannot be uprooted, the presence that remains even after the storm has passed. She is not immune to struggle. There have been days when doubt crept in like a shadow, whispering that she was not strong enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough. There have been moments when the weight of expectations, of failures, of past wounds pressed heavily against her chest. But a resilient woman does not let those moments define her. She breathes through them, moves through them, refuses to be broken by them. She understands that strength is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to stand tall despite it. She is grounded not just in power, but in grace. She does not fight every battle with force. She knows that some battles require stillness, patience, wisdom. She does not meet every challenge with anger. She understands that sometimes the greatest strength is in the quiet, in the way she carries herself with dignity, even when the world is unkind. She does not crumble under pressure. She bends, she adjusts. She finds a way to grow even in the most difficult circumstances. They have tried to shake her confidence, to tell her she is not enough, to make her question her worth. But she is rooted in something deeper. She knows who she is, knows the power she carries, knows that no storm can take away what is already planted within her. She does not rely on the world to tell her she is valuable. She knows she is, whether the world acknowledges it or not. She has learned to stand firm in her truth. She does not let fear push her into silence, nor does she let failure convince her to stop trying. She moves forward not because the path is easy, but because she refuses to be stopped. She holds her head high, not because she has never fallen, but because she has risen every single time. And even when the winds come again, even when the storms try to shake her once more, she will remain strong, steady, unwavering, because she is not built to break. She is built to endure, to rise, to thrive. She does not just survive, she thrives, turning every challenge into a stepping stone towards something greater. A resilient woman does not settle for mere survival. She does not wake up each day just to exist, just to get through, just to endure. No, she was not made for a life of quiet endurance. She was made to flourish, to rise above, to take everything that was meant to break her and use it to build something extraordinary. She does not stop at overcoming. She transforms, she grows, she thrives. She has known struggle intimately. She has fought battles that no one saw, carried burdens that no one else could understand. There were moments when she had nothing left to give, when exhaustion threatened to consume her, when she questioned if she could keep going, but she did. And now she stands not just as a survivor, but as something more, because she understands that life is not about avoiding hardship, it is about using it as fuel. She does not let pain define her, she lets it refine her. She does not let failure discourage her, she lets it teach her. She does not let obstacles stop her, she turns them into opportunities. She knows that every challenge carries a lesson, every setback holds a possibility, every moment of struggle is a chance to rise higher, and so she does. She refuses to live in the shadows of what tried to defeat her. She does not let her past mistakes, her heartbreaks, her disappointments keep her from stepping into the life she deserves. She does not let the scars of yesterday dim the light of tomorrow. She walks boldly, knowing that she has earned her strength, that she has fought for her happiness, that she has created her own success from the ashes of struggle. She does not just chase dreams, she builds them. She does not just wait for opportunities, she creates them. She does not just hope for a better future, she makes one. She knows that her journey is hers alone, that no one else can define it for her, that no one else can tell her what she is capable of. She writes her own story on her own terms, in her own voice. She carries herself with the quiet confidence of someone who has been through the fire and come out glowing. She does not need validation from the world because she has already proven to herself what she is capable of. She does not seek approval, does not beg for acceptance. She stands tall, knowing that she is enough exactly as she is. A resilient woman does not stop at survival. She refuses to simply exist. She chooses to thrive, to bloom, to claim every joy, every success, every piece of the life she has fought so hard to build. She knows she is worthy of more than just getting by. She is worthy of greatness, and she will never settle for anything less. She is a force, a light, a testament to the power of resilience. She has walked through fire and emerged stronger. She has faced storms and stood unshaken. She has turned pain into wisdom, silence into strength, and survival into triumph. She does not wait for doors to open, she builds her own. She does not seek permission to exist in her fullness, she claims her space with courage and grace. A resilient woman is not defined by what tried to break her, but by how she rose, how she thrived, how she turned every challenge into an opportunity for growth. She is proof that no struggle is wasted, no setback is final, and no dream is too big when pursued with determination. To every woman who carries strength in her soul, fire in her heart, and grace in her step, keep rising, keep building, keep speaking your truth. The world may test you, but it will never break you. You are made for more, and your journey is far from over. Good luck on your path, and may you always walk forward with courage. Thank you.